Now, little did we know, but some of the greatest horror movies of our time were adapted from novels. While some are known, such as The Exorcist and The Shining, some flew under the radar, shocking us once we discovered that a horror movie was based on a piece of text that we hadn't even heard about. So today on Top 5 Scary Videos, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 5 horror movies you won't believe were books. Before we begin though, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to some of your comments. And with that, let's jump in. Coming in at number 5, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Now, out of all of the movies on our list, this one surprised me the most, simply because I had absolutely no idea that this was adapted from a novel. None whatsoever. Regardless, I Know What You Did Last Summer is an absolute classic, and a pivotal teen horror to watch when growing up. If you haven't seen it, what are you even doing with your life? Get on that immediately. Anyway, I Know What You Did Last Summer was released in 1997, and directed by Jim Gillespie, with the movie starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, and Freddie Prinze Jr. The film tells the story of 4 friends who were stalked by a hook-wielding killer 1 year after accidentally killing a man and covering up the crime. The movie is a bloody fun time, ignore the pun, and is a staple in the slasher subgenre. Now, surprisingly, the movie was loosely based on the 1973 novel of the same name written by Lois Duncan, with the novel and movie exploring similar themes. However, the movie did deviate slightly from the original text to create a more straightforward 80s style slasher movie. The film was such a success it was followed by 2 sequels, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. The movies would also go on to be parodied and referenced throughout pop culture, not to mention, it is also credited as revitalizing the slasher genre alongside Scream. Coming in at number 4, Interview with the Vampire. Now, this one I did know was adapted from a novel prior to writing this video, however I only discovered this recently, so I'm including it on my list. Please don't yell at me. Released in 1994 and directed by Neil Jordan, Interview with the Vampire stars Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, and a little baby Kirsten Dunst, with the movie focusing on Lestat and Louis, 2 vampires, with the movie chronicling their time together and their turning of a 10-year-old Claudia into a vampire. Now, the movie is based on Anne Rice's 1976 novel of the same name, a novel which I knew about but didn't put 2 and 2 together for some reason. I'm living in the clouds, I think. Now, the novel and movie follow many of the same themes and same narrative structure, with the book centering on Louis, who tells the story of his life to a reporter. More interesting still though is why Rice chose to write the novel in the first place. She composed it shortly after the death of her young daughter Michelle, who ultimately served as inspiration for the character of Claudia. The book was hugely successful, with it spawning a total of 11 sequels, which are collectively known as the Vampire Chronicles, which included titles such as The Vampire Lestat, The Queen of the Damned, The Tale of the Body Thief, Merrick, Blood and Gold, and much more. Back to the movie though, the film received positive reviews upon its release, particularly for the performance by Kirsten Dunst, who was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress for her role as Claudia in the movie. I was late to watching this movie, which is a damn shame because it is truly brilliant, but better late than never. In at 3, we have Jaws. Honestly, at this point, I just feel downright stupid for not knowing about this novel adaptation. I'm truly considering firing myself at this point. Now, as we all know at this point, Jaws was directed by Steven Spielberg and released in 1975, with it being based on the 1974 Peter Benchley novel of the same name. The movie follows a man-eating great white shark that attacks beachgoers at a summer resort town, in turn prompting police chief Martin Brody to hunt it down with the help of a marine biologist and a professional shark hunter. The movie scarred many for years to come, deterring folks away from the ocean and even the beach, and quite honestly, this movie also aided in my severe fear of sharks. Hate them, don't like them, don't want to look at them. No, thank you. Anyway, this movie instantly won over critics and viewers alike, with it becoming the prototypical summer blockbuster, with it also being regarded as a watershed moment in cinematic history. For years, it remained the highest grossing movie, that was until Star Wars came along in 1977. Now, due to the success of the movie, 3 sequels followed, but I'm not opting to discuss any of those train wrecks, so let's move on to talking about the book. Like the movie, Benchley's novel tells the story of a shark that preys upon a small town and the voyage of 3 men who attempt to take it down. Surprisingly, the novel didn't find much success until the release of the movie in 1975, with many readers finding the prose and characterization lacking in the novel. Now, interestingly, the screenplay for the movie is credited to Peter Benchley, who is said to have written the first draft for the movie. The more you know. In at number 2, American Psycho. Released in 2000 and directed by Mary Harron, American Psycho is a black comedy psychological horror movie based on Bret Easton Ellis's 1991 novel of the same name, which, like many of the numbers on our list, is news to me because I had no idea this was adapted from a book. The movie starred Christian Bale, Willem Dafoe, Jared Leto, Josh Lucas, Chloe Sevigny, Justin Theroux, and of course Reese Witherspoon. It's an absolutely stellar cast, that's for sure. Now, the movie and book follow Patrick Bateman, a wealthy investment banker who hides his psychopathic ego from his friends. However, later his illogical fancies escalates and he submits to an uncontrollable bloodlust. Since its release, the movie has developed quite the cult following, which it greatly deserves because this movie is truly incredible. However, like many of the numbers on our list, and like I mentioned prior, I had no idea that this movie was adapted from a novel, but now that I know, I'm going to order it on Amazon immediately. The novel was published by Ellis back in '91, and like the movie, follows Patrick Bateman, a serial killer banker in Manhattan. Now, Alison Kelly of The Observer stated, I quote, "While some countries deem it so potentially disturbing that it can only be sold shrink-wrapped, critics rave about it, and academics revel in its transgressive and postmodern qualities. Not only that, but both the novel and movie were such successes that a musical adaptation was developed, with it appearing on Broadway and the West End back in December of 2013, which is crazy. A serial killer musical. I'm sad I missed it. And finally, in at number 1 we have Silence of the Lambs. Now, how I didn't know this movie was based on a book is beyond me, and I feel slightly ashamed at this fact. Please don't cancel me right away. As we know, The Silence of the Lambs is a 1991 psychological horror movie directed by Jonathan Demme, which was adapted from the Thomas Harris novel of the same name, which was published back in 1988. Now, as we know, The Silence of the Lambs movie follows FBI trainee Clarice Starling, who was pulled out from her training to apprehend a serial killer known to the police as Buffalo Bill, who skins female victims. To aid in her research, Clarice is forced to seek the advice of the imprisoned Dr. Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins himself, a brilliant psychiatrist and cannibalistic killer. Lovely stuff. The Silence of the Lambs is often cited by critics and viewers alike as one of the greatest and most influential movies in history, and I completely agree. On top of that, upon its release, it went on to win Academy Awards in all the top 5 categories: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Adapted Screenplay. It is also the first and only Best Picture winner considered to be a horror movie, and one of 6 such films to be nominated in the category, which is absolutely shameful. Now, the movie itself is incredibly chilling, with it gifting us with some of the most quoted lines in history, such as, "It rubs the lotion on the skin or else it gets the hose again." It's not even funny, it's like or maybe I'm just quoting it. Who knows? Maybe no one else is quoting it. Anyway, the movie lingered with many for years to come and brought us the infamous Hannibal Lecter, who would go on to appear in subsequent movies as well as having his very own show, with the character being portrayed by Mads Mikkelsen. Now, I may be living under a rock, which is highly possible because I had zero idea that The Silence of the Lambs was adapted from a novel, with the movie seemingly following the book structure and narrative. The book was, as you would expect, a huge success, with children's novelist Roald Dahl greatly enjoying it and describing it as, I quote, "subtle, horrific, and splendid, the best book I've read in a long time." However, on the other hand, critics and transgender activists decreed the novel as transphobic and homophobic due to the portrayal of Buffalo Bill. Due to this, there were protests upon the release of the movie. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any horror movies that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we can do a part 2. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos, top 5 horror movie endings that made no sense. Adrian Jones said, agreed on virtually all, but still feel the ending of Identity is genius. You all yelled at me in the comments for this one movie being on my list, and it's my list, so you can all deal with it. Just because I didn't like the ending of Identity doesn't mean that you can't like it. If you like it, that's on you. It's a movie, so that's your problem, not mine. Druidic Troy said, sorry Lucy, but the fact you don't like Orphan or Identity makes me no longer trust your opinion. Even more so since Orphan was based on a real story. Okay, Pixar, it didn't happen, that's how I feel. If Orphan's based on a true story, then show me this woman, woman-child, whatever you want to call her. Is she? Where's the child woman? I don't believe it for a second. An old woman that's pretending to be a child and no one knows about it? That doesn't happen in real life. And if it happened to you, you're an idiot. Jake Vale said maybe at the end of Signs it was actually demons and then the holy water worked. I actually really like this theory because I love Signs up until the end. Because why the hell would aliens come to Earth when over 70% of Earth is made of water? And water's their kryptonite. It makes no sense. The logic in that movie is dumb. But if they're demons and it's holy water, that's genius. Jason K said, I must be one of the handful of people that liked The Happening. You may actually be the only person that liked The Happening. I like The Happening because it's so dumb and it's gifted us with one of the best Mark Wahlberg lines. Please insert it when he's like, what? No. You know the one. Microphonic 007 said, I mean this in the most respectful way possible. I love Lucy. Lucy for life, but Lucy's kind of thick. It's because hell, if you saw what I eat on a daily basis, no wonder I'm thick. Thanks. Tick. Eamon called me Tick the other day and it was made my day. Jessica Thill said, we have the same taste in women, lol. I agree, Bryce Dallas Howard is a babe. That she is. Absolute queen. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another scary vid. And until next time, see you later. The movie was loosely based on the 1973 novel of the same name written by Lois Duncan or Louis Duncan.
Is he a female or male?
That's the tricky problem. Let's go with Lois Duncan. Lois. Yeah, let's find out. Is Lois a man's or a woman's? It's a woman's. Okay, good for her. She did well. Yeah, well done writing things. They're all dead to me. Can't say that. Some people like sharks.
I do.
You like sharks?
Yeah.
Not until you get killed by one.
But sharks kill a lot of people. People kill a lot of sharks compared to the amount of sharks killing people.
Okay, fair enough. I guess they're the bears of the ocean.
Yeah.
And I love bears. It's like, the way I view it is leave them alone. The way I view it is we shouldn't even go in the ocean. Like, we're not built to be in the ocean. Why are we in the ocean? Don't go in it and leave them alone. It's like, why don't go in the forest? Actually, that's a lie. I just spent a week in the forest. Just lying at this point. Sometimes I do think I'm a pathological liar. I just say things. It's cut off, Chris. Why'd you do that?
I tried, but I guess I
Didn't try hard enough.